Alright, video is going to be hydro assistance the cheap, affordable way. So we're going to start from the top and work our way to the bottom. The bottom's a little bit more easier, self-explained. Now, some people get this stuff wrong, so we're going to start from the top because this is where the technical information starts. Okay, this is an 88 square body truck. It retains the same 88 power steering pump. It is a brand new pump. And the issues that you will have if you understand me when I explain this is, you see this fancy dancy line I had made. The original lines will not mesh to your steering gear from a two-wheel drive unless you have the correct gear between it. So when they say you just put a two-wheel drive steering gearbox in it, some people might make the mistake. So this is a two-wheel drive steering gearbox that is out of a 73 to 80 square body two-wheel drive truck. So because there's a difference, is people don't explain, is the pressure line fitting has a whole different thread pattern in your 81 in up lines will not go into it. It has a different end fitting, which I'll have to go get the line and show you personally. So there's a flared end and a non-flared end, if you understand that. One has an O-ring on it, the other one has a flared end. In my box right here is it's a flared end on this one. So this is still using, and don't do this right there, it needs the correct fitting, and I ground that down and flared the end myself. Don't do it that way. Just go out and get the fitting, because I had issues with my pressure line, and that's why I had to put a new box on, or a power steering pump on. So the local speed shop made me these for the correct size fittings. Make sure you know your exact fittings. I believe that one right there was a 16 and an 18 down there for your 80s body. Well, it's the opposite type of thread, and you know what I mean? It ain't millimeters on the older box, but cheap and affordable. So when you do it, your top reg joint cap will be drilled out, and we're going to get into this in detail, and that would be a simpler way of doing it. Once I get to the bottom of the truck, I'll explain that too, but since we're up here up top, we're going to go into detail. So if you're making it consistent daily driver and you want your hydro assistance, you're gonna want a power steering cooler out of like a 2000s era truck, because they came with factory power steering coolers, or you can go out and buy a power steering cooler. I've seen people put out the cooler right here up on the frame. My suggestion would be even better than that, is to, if you have the square body and you're running your factory era, you know what I mean, fan shroud, there's all that space, there's all this space in here. Just bolt it in down on the bottom, drill a hole, and run your return line through it, and then run it back where you can get enough line out of it correctly. Drill a hole and then run it directly back off that cross member and then up into your return line, and then your fan will help cool it too, if that helps. Some people don't know this or didn't understand it, and I'm helping you understand it. Now my top, this right here is, some have the PSC right there, remote reservoir. You can do that, and if you're on a budget like I was at the time, this is a tractor radiator hose that fit over your power steering cap, and it's hose clamped to it, and it is pretty good. This is an LS oil cap tightened down to it. So when you fill it, don't fill it up all the way. Make sure your pump, when you start running, that is filled up almost to the cap. You don't want it grinding or whining, because you'll ruin a power steering pump with the hydro assistant. So fill it to about right here when you start to bleed off the air out of it. And you're going to turn it lock to lock when you bleed the air off of it. And if you have to add more, you get your screwdriver out and put it on. And this is called, you can find this on a website, and it's called the West Texas Mod. And that is the cheapest affordable reservoir you're gonna find. Might not work on every vehicle, but a square body, it definitely does. Kind of looks stupid, but it's affordable. This right here is the DIY 4x large cap. When you buy this cap, it comes with the seal for the small and large O-ring for when you put it on there. It does not come with the snap, or the snap ring, I should say, whatever you want to call it. But when you before you buy the cap, make sure you measure from the edge there to there, and vice versa. You would understand it if it's a large cap or a small cap. I can show you on the gearbox what the small cap would actually look like. And this is a push-pull box. Okay, the push-pull box will have a heavier edge here. And about what I was saying is why you drill out the rag joint cap is if you got the 80s two-wheel drive box, you can put, and I believe even my rag joint, if that's the same thickness, can go on this two-wheel drive box if I bust the box. So you can understand how that works. And the cap, I'd have to get a smaller cap, obviously, so I'll explain this now. So this being a 73 to 80 era box, you need to know, because I believe this is a Saginaw. Not 100% sure, but to me it shows NS there, so there you understand it. Drilling and tapping. Okay. If you're gonna drill and tap it and go the extra time of doing it, it's basically what I'm showing here is that you don't have to. You're just kind of laying on the ground and pissing on yourself, but you can do it just to be cool. For you know what I mean, if you want to have it a better finished look, I can understand that, so I can't pick on people that much. But you see this piece right here, right here. You're gonna go back to about right where my finger's at. You know what I mean? You can go back just a little bit more. It's best to have the box completely taken apart to do it, and not try to do it completely together. So you drill this out, make sure you don't drill completely through that hole that's gonna be here. And you have to cut down a tap and tap it that way, so because the tap will bottom out in the hole and you won't be able to correctly get it tapped. So you gotta cut down a tap. Your other area you're gonna tap and drill is like right here off that edge, right there. And you need it to be taken apart to do it, because you will get, as many people say that, oh, they had good luck trying it, doing it that way. I'm guaranteeing that you're probably getting drilling millings falling into it, and why not just take it apart and put new seals in it in the first place? I obviously didn't do that, and you can see the gear oil, oh, not the gear oil, but the high dollar power steering fluid I use leaking out of it. So I got a seal kit to do this, I got a seal kit to do that, I got the complete seal kit for this Saginaw box. Now, to better explain this is a better method of drilling and tapping, because say there's some boxes that are 3-bolt and some boxes that are 4-bolt, and if you snap the case on the box, then you're gonna have to find another, you know what I mean, box, re-drill it and re-tap it. Okay, this method, if you have gearboxes at disposal and you break it, the cap, simple seal kit, you know what I mean, that comes with the other O-ring. In my seal kit that I got for this box actually came with the same O-ring. You just pop that off, pop the cap back on it, because you broke the old one, and put the reg joint from the other gearbox on it, and then put new seals in it. Strongly recommended. That's how easy it is. No drilling and tapping needed. So this method, it's probably the best to do it cheap and affordable. Now, the upper fitting, you can see it right there. The fitting that goes in there to get better flow, the hole, you take that piece out and you slide the piece, whatever you want to call it. I can't think of it right now. I drilled that hole out that goes into the pump to a 5/32 so it flows better. Some people don't do that. I forgot to add that while I'm up there. So just simple things. These are simple tech notes that people just don't tell you. When you do crossover high steer, you want to reinforce your frame. Well, if you do crossover steering altogether, just go the extra mile before you go doing the gearbox and have the frame reinforcement plate pre-welded on there. Why fix it when it breaks? Just do it ahead of time. You know what I mean? It makes it thicker. My Suburban's a 3/4 ton, and I believe the frame is pretty okay for thickness, but I've also seen 1 ton snap at the gearbox, steering box location, and there's video of it actually up on YouTube for BSF's Recovery's old wrecker. He actually busted it, and he mangled the frame up bad a couple different times. You know what I mean? 1 ton frame. This right here is my high steer ram mount from DIY 4x. You see this edge right here? I had this welded on backwards with the straight edge over here. Okay, this is a 1.7 by 8 inch stroke PSC ram, because this was affordable at the time I ordered this. You don't need an 8 inch stroke for a high steer. I'd probably recommend a 6 inch stroke with the same, however you want, you know what I mean, ram end. What was happening is when you steer, it will lap. The way I have it is I got that spaced out about 5 inches. It's about 5 inches here to there. So I have more than enough to go that way and more than enough to steer that way with 8 inch stroke. 6 inch stroke, you can get away with, probably it'll work without having to modify your really expensive leaf spring blades. And if you got if you got these spring plates and you're going to run a Dana 60 high steer, I will add this, that you will have, if they're the large pocket style from DIY 4x, and you got high steer and a 0 rate, you will have to space this out if you're running an 8 inch stroke ram. This actually works very well for what it's worth, other than I had to cut that down. He has a smaller pocket style that would probably work, if not better, to better understand that. And my crossover steering is all DIY 4x. This right here is DIY 4x. It was a call-in order, and Kurt custom made this piece for me. He has it up on his Talk Tech page. I don't know if it's mine or somebody else's that he made, but somebody else made the same thing. So this is in brief my hydraulic lines. I bought the ram from Four Wheel Parts, and it took forever and a day, even though PSC is only 5 hours away from me from here in Little Rock, Arkansas. So what I did is I brought my ram into a local hydraulic hose inline place, and they got me these fittings right here. They had those fittings, and I had them I took a tape measure and bent it all up and crazy, and had them make me lines for the ram that go up into the gearbox. I believe they're 36 inches, but don't go off my number. I would probably recommend about longer ones. You know what I mean? And you can make it sit a little bit better on there, but these, you know what I mean, they got some pretty good go to them. My rag joint is leaking and the other end is leaking, so I got to do that eventually. But right now, you know what I mean, it's been too hot, if you guys can understand that. So that's just in brief of me explaining this. This is the easiest way about doing it. If you're on a budget, you can go the extra mile and pay, you know what I mean, $1,500, $1,800, you know what I mean, and have the fancy dancy PSC or the other brand, whatever you want to call them, or even Trail. I think Trail Gear has the Ram, but you know what I mean, is it for, they don't go into detail saying is it for a Toyota or is it for a Jeep, or you know what I mean, they don't explain. So PSC is for everything, so some are different, you know what I mean. One might be, you might actually have to look, and PSC actually has the details on their Rams on their website that you can look at. Some might be your pressure here, some might be your you know what I mean, let's just explain it again. Some might be your pressure here, some might be your return there. Let's just explain that. So it might be that different on here. I found that out the hard way and had to flip the lines around because it felt like it was fighting itself when I was steering side to side. Flipped the lines around, made a hell of a gear mess under here. It was spraying everywhere because it left the truck running when I did it, and tightened it back up, and it fixed itself the way it needed to. And I had to go through and wipe everything down and pressure wash it. Let's just put it that way. So if you break the line, it's going to leave a mess. So this right here, I even added bolts to it. So just remember everything I basically explained, take it in consideration. Some people will tell you one thing but not leave all the other questions. There's questions, always a question. And when I see things I've explained 100,000 times, I'm just going to make a video about it to help others when it's asked. And I've covered this issue probably 10 times this year when it was asked, even though it was, you know what I mean, couple posts away in the subject once before. So here I am, I'm making this video, and that was on social media. So I'm removing myself from most things of social media to make these videos so others can come back and see it, and then I can share it to you so everybody understands it. So the two-wheel drive box from 73 to 80 has different threads than 81 and up to 91 steering gear box. So that is one of the main things that people will not tell you. And like I said, drilling and tapping, you could do it to have a better fancy dancy look, but at the same time you can have an easier way about it. If you break something, this is interchangeable with the large cap boxes that have a snap ring here, right here. And then the rag joint is interchangeable with most Saginaw and GM boxes, as long as this is the same size. And that on your rag joint from your push-pull. So you can put the rag joint from a two-wheel drive box in a 4x4 box to achieve a crossover steering, and it might even steer, in some cases it might even steer a little bit better, as long as it's the same length. And you know what I mean, if you put the rag joint up to rag joint, BSF Recovery did this a couple of years back. I think you can actually find it on YouTube also. He's done it because he broke one of his boxes and his wrecker. So to understand that, I do watch lots and lots of YouTube, and this is how I would know this. And he is a GM mechanic too. So you know what I mean, if you want to just get a rag joint for around the same era your truck, I believe they'll just go in there. The caps are just a little bit different the way they're sealed, but it all is, the cap is pretty much bolts down the same way. You can understand that. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment if you want. If I missed something, leave a comment. I believe I covered it. Yes, I know it's leaking. I know I'm already going to get some douchebag that's going to dislike it, even though this is technical information and they probably don't have hydro assistance anyway, or they might be a victims of brand loyalty, or they're a keyboard warrior. Like, subscribe. I need the subscribers, okay? In brief, there it is. Hydro assistance, the cheap, affordable way. And this does work. I got 39-inch tires and it steers like this. I can put my finger on a steering wheel, and I got shorts of it. If you don't believe me, I don't really need to start my truck and run it right now. There is shorts of me showing that. Have a good day. I gotta cool off. Thank you for watching.